Imagine sitting down at your desk tomorrow morning, grabbing your mouse, and suddenly realizing that the software interface you spend 8 hours a day clicking through is just completely obsolete.
Right, like it's not just updated with a new color scheme or whatever.
Exactly. It's gone, like totally replaced by something that just handles your job while you basically sit back and watch.
I mean, it sounds like the premise for some kind of science fiction movie, right?
Yeah.
But we are actually watching the foundation of the modern business world get rewritten in real time.
It's wild to think about.
It really is, because we are so conditioned to think of software as just, the screens we look at. We literally can't imagine working without them.
Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome to today's deep dive. Our mission today is to shortcut decades of enterprise tech history and really help you understand a fundamental shift happening right now called Agentic Reinvention.
It's a huge topic.
Oh, massive. And we're pulling from a really insightful May 2026 article by tech investor Ashish S. He outlines his Microsoft fiscal year 2027 investment thesis in it.
Right, and he tracks 5 major tech trends in that piece.
Yeah, but he singles out this one, Agentic Reinvention, as having the most immediate, earth-shattering consequences, especially for retail and consumer packaged goods.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this shift isn't about, giving your company a faster computer processor or a sleeker mobile app.
Right.
We are looking at a fundamental relocation of human capital. I mean, for the last 40 years, humans have used software to make operational decisions.
We click the buttons, we make the call.
Exactly. But we are moving to an era where humans simply govern AI agents, and those agents make the operational decisions themselves.
So to really wrap your head around why these AI agents are so revolutionary, we first have to understand the rigid historical systems that we are currently trapped in.
Yeah, you can't really appreciate the cure until you understand the disease.
Well said. So the author breaks the history of enterprise software down into 3 distinct waves. The first wave, which he calls memory, was basically the era of the giant digital filing cabinet.
Right, and we need to define some of the alphabet soup that dominates corporate life to understand this era. You have your ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning.
Which is basically the digital central nervous system of a company, right? Tracking the money and materials.
Exactly. And then you have your WMS, Warehouse Management Systems. Those are the brains organizing all the physical pallets in a building.
And TMS for transportation.
Yeah, routing the trucks, exactly. But when these systems were originally architected, their sole purpose was just to capture what had already happened.
Right, like a worker typed in that a shipment arrived, and the system remembered it. That's it.
That's literally it. The software didn't think. It didn't reason. It certainly didn't recommend what you should do about a delayed shipment,
So humans had to dig through those records, pull the data, and make every single consequential decision manually.
Which brought us to the second wave, comprehension. And this is honestly the era most companies are currently stuck in.
Right, the dashboard era.
Yeah, we got business intelligence tools, massive dashboards, predictive analytics. Suddenly, the system could look at all that historical filing cabinet data and actually surface patterns.
Oh, wow. So it could show a human analyst a supply chain bottleneck in, 5 seconds.
Exactly. Something that might have taken them 3 weeks to find using just a massive spreadsheet.
But the crucial limitation of Wave 2 is that the software still only informs, it might flash a red warning light on your dashboard, but it's entirely up to you to pick up the phone, call the supplier, and actually do something about it.
Right. The human is still holding the decision.
Which brings us to the third wave, the shift we are literally living through right now, which is action.
The big one.
Yeah, in Wave 3, the software decides, it executes, it monitors the outcome of that execution, and then it adjusts on the fly.
The software evolves from, a tool you wield into an autonomous actor in your workflow. It's reading the data, understanding the context, and taking the necessary steps.
Without waiting for your permission to click a button. I like to think about this like the evolution of navigation. So Wave 1, the filing cabinet, is a paper map. It shows you exactly where the roads are, but you have to figure out where you are and how to navigate all the turns.
Right. Very manual.
Then Wave 2, the dashboard era, is your phone's GPS. It comprehends the traffic, suggests the fastest route, it even warns you about a speed trap ahead. But you are still the one physically keeping the car between the lines.
You're still driving.
Yeah. And Wave 3, this agentic era we're talking about, is a fully self-driving car. You just give it the destination, and it handles the pedals, the steering, and the traffic adjustments completely on its own.
That analogy is great because it highlights something critical that people often misunderstand. When people hear self-driving enterprise, they panic.
Oh, totally. They think the robots are coming for their jobs.
Right, they assume all the humans are fired and removed from the building. But the author emphasizes that humans don't leave the room. The ratio of human decisions to total decisions simply drops dramatically.
Okay, so your judgment relocates to a higher order. So instead of micromanaging the steering wheel, I'm acting more like the fleet manager.
Precisely. You're defining the policy, setting the financial guardrails, reviewing those rare, complex exceptions that the system escalates because, well, it's never seen a disruption quite like it before.
You move from transaction-level clicking to system-level governance.
You got it.
Wait, though. If Wave 3, this autonomous self-driving enterprise, is so obviously superior, it brings up a really glaring question.
Let's hear it.
Why are massive multi-billion-dollar corporations still running their businesses on Wave 2 dashboards or, in some terrifying cases, Wave 1 filing cabinets? Like, if the self-driving car is available, why is half the Fortune 500 still using a paper map?
It's a great question. And the answer really comes down to how legacy software companies historically trapped their users.
Trap them? How?
Well, the author points to a brilliant piece by 𝐸𝒈𝒻𝒄 from 𝐸𝒂𝒐𝒐. It's titled, "Is Software Losing Its Head?" And she argues that for the last 20 years, major platforms didn't actually sell databases.
Think of the massive CRM systems salespeople use, right?
Right. They sold a very specific way of running a business.
Ah, they sold the interface, the pipeline views, the drop-down menus, all the activity feeds.
Exactly. And that created an incredibly powerful moat. You know, a defensive advantage that kept competitors away. We tend to think a tech company's moat is like superior coding or faster servers.
Sure.
But the true moat for these legacy software giants was human habit.
Think about the mechanics of that for a second. If you have a global sales force of 10,000 people, they are logging calls the exact same way every day.
Right. Updating their deal stages using the exact same drop-down menus.
Yeah. They build their daily morning routines around these specific screens. You are basically building an entire organization's muscle memory around that specific user interface.
And because of that, the switching costs become astronomical. If a competitor offers a slightly faster database, the CIO of that enterprise won't buy it.
Because migrating data is relatively easy, but undoing the institutional habit of 10,000 employees is just a total nightmare.
Exactly. You'd have to retrain the shared vocabulary, the management cadences, all those undocumented workflows that employees just know by heart. That muscle memory made the user interface a remarkably durable moat.
Hold on, I need to make a leap here. If these new AI agents don't use screens,
Right.
then companies that spent billions of dollars perfecting the psychology of their dashboards have basically wasted their money. Like, their entire competitive advantage just vanished overnight. Good user interface design suddenly doesn't matter.
What's fascinating here is that the defensibility of that interface layer simply dies. AI agents completely ruin this traditional moat because an agent doesn't develop muscle memory.
Wow.
An AI doesn't need a beautiful color-coded dashboard to know what to do next. It doesn't need a UX designer to put the submit button in the perfect spot. It just reads and writes directly to the underlying data in milliseconds.
Because the interface was only valuable because humans needed it to interact with the machine. Take the human out of the click path, and the interface becomes entirely irrelevant.
Exactly. 𝒈𝒻𝒄 notes that the value in the software industry is rapidly bifurcating. It's moving downward into the deep plumbing.
The data models, the compliance rules, the secure permissions.
Right. And it's moving upward into real-world execution and generating proprietary data. But that middle layer, the user interface and the human habits built around it, it just evaporates.
That has to be absolutely terrifying if you are a legacy software executive. Your entire valuation is built on thousands of office workers being habituated to your specific buttons.
It is.
And because the UI moat is evaporating, the companies that are bleeding the most cash from slow, human-clicked interfaces are the ones dealing with physical, moving parts. The author points directly at retail and consumer packaged goods.
Oh, there is an intense urgency in this sector right now. He argues that no industry carries a heavier burden of legacy software than retail and CPG.
Really?
Yeah. We are talking about critical supply chain architecture that was literally coded back in the late 1990s. And arguably, no sector has more to gain from shedding that burden.
I mean, the complexity of a modern retailer is staggering. You aren't just dealing with code. You are dealing with tens of thousands of individual physical items, the SKUs, across dozens of different geographic channels.
Right. Plus you have real-time manufacturing constraints from overseas suppliers.
Yeah.
And unlike a tech company selling digital downloads, your inventory is physical,
Yeah.
and crucially, it is often perishable. Its value is literally decaying by the hour.
Throw in nonlinear promotional calendars, holiday rushes, and constantly shifting consumer demand, and every single one of those variables demands a decision.
Let's make this real. Imagine you are managing a major grocery chain. You have a massive shipment of strawberries, and they are rotting on the shelf right now.
Not the strawberries.
Right. You need to discount them immediately to recoup some of your cost. But to actually execute that discount, your planners have to spend 3 days pulling exception reports from a dashboard built during the Clinton administration.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, filtering through them manually in Excel and routing emails for approval just to authorize a single price drop.
The author shares a really mind-boggling anecdote that perfectly captures this pain. He interviewed supply chain leaders at major retailers who described their weekly planning cycle as an elaborate ceremony.
Yes, the 4-day ceremony.
Yeah. They physically gather in conference rooms to make critical logistical decisions based on data that is already 4 days old by the time anyone actually takes action.
It's crazy. A manual pricing review that takes 3 days is bleeding your profit margin every single hour it waits.
And the lag is baked into the system because human processing speed is the ultimate bottleneck. Humans have to read the screen, comprehend the data, and click the mouse.
That is precisely where the AI native architecture steps in. And again, it's not about replacing the supply chain workers so a company can cut payroll. It is about removing that human processing bottleneck.
So the agents do the instantaneous reading and synthesizing across all those complex variables.
Exactly. Supplier delays, weather patterns, inventory decay. They handle all of it so that human workers aren't forced to manually base their strategies on stale, 4-day-old data.
Okay, so if I'm the CEO of that grocery chain and my late 90s software is forcing me into this 4-day ceremony while my strawberries literally rot, my instinct is to just burn it to the ground.
Just scrap the whole thing.
Yeah, rip out the old system entirely, fire my legacy vendor, and go buy a shiny new AI system to start totally fresh.
That instinct is incredibly common, but the author warns it is a massive mistake. Ripping and replacing is actually the most dangerous thing an enterprise can do right now.
Yeah, really? Why?
Understand why, we have to clarify the difference between software that is AI augmented versus software that is truly AI native.
Okay, let me tackle AI augmented. That's basically just slapping a clever intelligence layer onto your existing broken workflow, right?
Right, exactly.
The AI pops up and makes a recommendation, like a superpowered clicky, saying, hey, you should discount those strawberries by 20%.
Yes, but a human still has to read that pop-up, agree with it, and approve the action.
So it's helpful, but my throughput ceiling hasn't fundamentally changed because the human bottleneck is still there.
It's exactly right. AI native, on the other hand, means the agent autonomously orchestrates the workflow from start to finish.
Okay.
But here is the critical point. Building an AI native operation does not mean starting from scratch. Ripping out a mature ERP or a 20-year-old warehouse management system invites total operational chaos.
Because that old system isn't just a dumb database. It holds decades of accumulated, hard-coded operational reality.
Yes, you've got custom approval hierarchies. You have bespoke mappings for a very specific supplier in Taiwan.
You probably have edge case roles programmed in 2008 to handle a specific customs crisis that the current staff doesn't even remember.
Exactly. Discarding that legacy platform means you lose all that institutional knowledge. You would have to painstakingly reverse engineer 20 years of compliance rules and physical warehouse physics.
That sounds like a nightmare.
It introduces an unacceptable level of risk. The entire supply chain could collapse while you try to teach a new AI how your loading docks actually operate.
Here's where it gets really interesting. The agentic approach actually treats these clunky, frustrating legacy systems as an asset.
They do. The strategy is to expose the deep logic of those legacy systems via what are called MCP interfaces. That's the Model Context Protocol.
Don't get bogged down in the acronym, though.
Yeah. Think of a protocol in this context like a universal plug adapter. It's a standardized way for a new AI brain to securely plug directly into the complicated fuse box of an old legacy system.
So through these interfaces, the old legacy business rules basically become isolated skills that the AI agent can invoke.
Exactly.
I love the orchestra analogy for this. Think of the new AI agent as a newly hired, brilliant orchestra conductor, and think of your old, reliable warehouse management system as a master violinist who has been playing the same instrument for 20 years.
That's a perfect way to picture it.
The conductor doesn't need to know how to physically hold the bow or play the violin. They just need a way to signal the violinist exactly when to play.
Right, the agent trusts the old system to do what it does best: enforce the compliance, maintain the strict audit trails, and execute the actual physical transaction.
The agent simply provides the brain power to coordinate the sequence.
Exactly. It calls the warehouse skill to locate the strawberries, then immediately calls the pricing skill to update the discount, coordinating across massive legacy systems in milliseconds.
Without a single human having to log into either one.
None.
Which means the landscape for software companies is about to become a total bloodbath. I mean, incumbents like SAP, Oracle, Manhattan Associates, their survival strategy can't be building a prettier user interface anymore.
No, the interface is dead.
Their only play is to expose their accumulated logic cleanly via these universal adapters so the new agents can easily use them as tools.
And if the legacy vendors throw up walled gardens and refuse to expose their logic, the agents will simply route around them and those incumbents will die.
Wow.
Meanwhile, there was a massive gold rush for startups. The author highlights companies like Augur, Intelo.ai, Simple Contract, Enmovil, and 𝐬𝒐𝐫𝒕𝒊𝒄.
These startups aren't wasting time trying to rebuild a 20-year-old warehouse database, are they?
Not at all. They are brilliantly focusing purely on building the orchestration intelligence, the conductor, that sits above the legacy systems.
So what does this all mean for the timeline? Because if I'm a chief information officer at a big retail brand and I see these startups just starting to build this conductor layer, my natural corporate instinct is to wait.
Right, the old wait and see.
Yeah, let my competitors be the guinea pigs. I'll let the technology mature for 2 years, let the startups work out the bugs, and then I'll just buy the perfected off-the-shelf version later.
That wait and see approach is literally the most dangerous trap of all. And the reason comes down to the mechanics of how these AI models actually improve over time. The author calls it a compounding advantage.
Because these agentic systems have persistent memory and they operate on closed-loop feedback. But let's actually explain how that works in the real world.
Yeah, let's go back to your rotting strawberries. An AI agent realizes the inventory is expiring. At 2:00 p.m., it autonomously decides to discount the strawberries by 10% based on its current model.
Okay, makes sense.
But by 3:00 p.m., it actively monitors the point-of-sale data and sees that the 10% drop didn't move the needle enough. The strawberries are still sitting there.
So it adjusts.
Exactly. It pushes the discount to 15%, and suddenly sales spike. The agent instantly records that failure, that adjustment, and that ultimate success back into its own memory.
It's learning from its own operational mistakes in real time. The author uses a great term for this, proprietary data exhaust.
Yeah, I love that phrase.
It is data that is created uniquely because the AI is actively inside the operational loop, taking hits and making adjustments. You cannot just buy that learned experience 2 years from now.
Right. You can't just hand a brand new AI a massive Excel export of historical sales and expect it to have the same nuanced intuition as an agent that has been actively managing the floor for 2 years.
So the enterprises that deploy these agents the next 18 to 24 months are building a living operational intelligence asset.
Exactly. Every single day that agent runs, it gets slightly better at pricing, slightly better at routing trucks, slightly better at predicting delays.
That knowledge compounds.
And late adopters will find themselves permanently behind because they're buying an untrained brain, while their competitors have an agent with years of proprietary hard-fought experience baked in.
I mean, put yourself in the shoes of a CEO for a second. Your competitor's supply chain software is actively learning from its mistakes, optimizing routes and pricing 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, constantly getting smarter.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, your software is just a static dashboard waiting for a human to notice a red light and click a button. How many months before they become so efficient that they can completely price you out of the market?
Exactly. But this raises an important question, though, which is currently the unsolved frontier of this entire shift. It's the issue of permissioning. As these agents get faster and more autonomous, how does a corporation safely authorize them? How do you define a policy that allows an AI to negotiate $1 million supplier contract on behalf of the company?
Oh, that's a huge risk.
Right. What audit trail proves why the AI made a certain choice? And crucially, how do you roll back an action if the AI hallucinates or makes a catastrophic mistake?
Right, you can't just hand an AI the corporate credit card, give it the keys to the warehouse, and hope it figures it out.
And this brings us full circle to why ripping and replacing is so dangerous. Those clunky legacy systems are the ultimate failsafe.
Because they hold the historical configurations and the hard-coded compliance rules.
Exactly, they become the trust and permission layer. The agent provides the reasoning and the speed, but the old system of record ultimately authorizes the transaction based on strict predefined physics.
It is a necessary symbiotic relationship.
Yeah, the new brain absolutely needs the old skeleton to stay upright.
Okay, let's do a quick recap of the journey we've been on today. We have moved from enterprise software acting as a passive digital filing cabinet to an analytical dashboard that informs, and finally to software as an autonomous actor that decides and executes on its own.
A huge shift.
The traditional competitive moat, the user interface, and the human habits built around clicking it is completely dead. But the clunky legacy backend lives on, transformed into a vital library of automated skills for the new AI conductor to orchestrate.
Yeah.
And because of the closed-loop way these systems learn from their own actions, time is of the essence. Sitting on the sidelines means surrendering a compounding data advantage that you may never be able to buy back.
It is a profound structural shift for the entire economy.
Yeah.
And I really want to leave you with a final thought to chew on as you go about your day.
Let's hear it.
We've spent this entire time exploring how an AI agent navigates a single company's internal legacy systems to fix its own supply chain. But zoom out. What happens to the global economy when a massive retailer's AI agent begins negotiating prices, logistics, and shipping routes directly with a global supplier's AI agent?
Oh, wow.
What happens when there are zero human interfaces involved on either side of a billion-dollar transaction? How does human governance even function when the entire B2B economy is just agents relentlessly bartering with other agents in milliseconds?
That is a wild sci-fi reality that honestly isn't 20 years away. It is literally just around the corner. Thank you so much for taking this deep dive with us today. Take these insights, bring them into your next strategy meeting, and maybe take a moment to look at those daily dashboards you click through just a little differently. We will catch you on the next one.